Om Shivachidamram. I found an interesting question which is a comment on one of my videos, my previous videos, and I thought it deserved a longer answer because it would benefit everybody. Now, I don't look at the comments by and large. One of my disciples pointed the comment out to me and said, "This is interesting. Perhaps it needs an answer, perhaps it needs a response." And I looked at it and I agree. So, this was the comment. It was a comment in the form of a question. Sri Guru, I am not sure if you will reply to my comment. Still, I am going to ask the question. I have not yet found or realized my Ishta Devta yet. My Kuladevi is Yogeshwari, Amba Jogai, Maharashtra. Can I start mantra jap of my Kuladevi for spiritual and material progress, or I should have Ishta Devta compulsory for spiritual progress? Does worshipping Kuladevi, Kuladeva be impactful as worshipping Durga, Shiva, Vishnu? Sorry in advance for my noob. Now, this is a very, very interesting question because it has multiple assumptions there, common cultural assumptions there, which I think should be addressed. First of all, I would like to say that this year, 2025, I visited Amba Jogai for the first time. I visited the temple at Ishta Yogeshwari, and it's a very powerful, very ancient temple. Amba Jogai is a very, very, very old classical town of Maharashtra. It is regarded as the place where the Marathi language began. From the temples around the town, there are many ancient temples around the town, all of them in appalling disrepair. But they are all from the classical age, post-classical age, early medieval age period. So it is a very ancient, very powerful. The Kshetram itself, the temple as it currently exists, it's obviously a recent construction because that area had faced massive destruction by the usual theological barbarians. So Amba Jogai, if your Kuladevi is Amba Jogai, yes, most certainly I would recommend that you begin her mantra japa, because here is the thing. Your Kuladeva is your karmic inevitability. You were born to it. There are many Rina reasons, there are many Vasta Samskara reasons why you end up with a particular Devta as your Kuladeva or Kuladevi, and the more you honor that connection, the more you accept that connection, the better it is for everybody. For you, so even if you have a separate Ishta Devta, you must always respect and reverence your Kuladevata. So I hope that part is clear, and I hope that you will indeed start up the mantra japa for the Kuladevi, because she is very powerful, I can assure you of that. I regard my visit there as very significant. If you go to my Facebook profile, you'll see a lot of posts I had made about the temples of Amba Jogai, and especially about Yogeshwari. So that is one part of the question. The other part of the question is more important, and that is this whole issue of Ishta Devta. Now you see, Ishta Devta, the Deva you like, the Ishtam, your deep longing, liking, or in my case, you could say obsession with Shiva Nataraja of Chidambaram. It is not compulsory to have an Ishta Devta to progress in sadhana, but it helps, because Devta Anugraha is one of the fastest ways. If you can get a Devta to take some interest in you, even the touch of a devta, even in a negative way, becomes a, because they are beings of another quality, another caliber, another dimension. Even the slightest touch of a devta, even in a negative way, helps you. Yeah, devta shapa upakara, like it's a so two things: if you get the attention of a rishi and if you get the attention of a devta, these two things accelerate your progress, make you attain things, give you protection in a manner that cannot be. But it is not compulsory. It was only after the rise of the bhakti movement that the centrality of the Ishta Devta became. So people feel in some sense that they are lacking or that their spirituality is inferior because they don't have an Ishta Devta. That is wrong. It is only if you are on the Bhakti Marga, if you are on the Bhakti Yoga path, that you must have an Ishta Devta compulsorily. It is not like if you are a Jnani and you cannot have an Ishta Devta. It is not like you are a Raja Yogi and you cannot have an Ishta Devta. I won't say much about Karma Yoga because I haven't really met any Karma Yogis. I've met a lot of people who think that they are Karma Yogis, but well, delusion is universal. To actually perform work without any expectation of reward, even a man as great as Swami Vivekananda said he would crawl 1 mile on his hands and knees to look upon the face of such a person. तो हम किस खेत के मूली हैं? But this notion that one must have an Ishta Devta to progress is not the norm of the culture. That is not what the spiritual tradition says. You can progress. I know people who have gone very far with the sadhana upasana of a particular devta, and yet the Ishta Devta is different. There are so many examples. I don't wish to take names because perhaps they wouldn't want me to point it out. But there is no rule that you cannot attain a lot of progress or a lot of success in the worship of one particular devta, even if your Ishta is someone else. Now, in the tantric paths, they are much more flexible about this. They have the notion that for certain stages, certain particular outcomes, you worship certain particular devtas, you have certain practices, and therefore it. So one of the questions I keep getting asked is, how do I find my Ishta Devta? And my first counter question is always, who is your Kuladevta, who is your Kuladevi? First find that out. Then start their worship, start their puja, go and visit the traditional temple which your family is supposed to do once a year whenever possible. And then if there is a need for a separate Ishta Devta, your Kuladeva or your Kuladevi will guide you to that. Some very good astrologers can look at the chart and they can point out. I'm just giving general principles here. I'm not giving recommendations here. I'm just giving general principles here. Some very good astrologers can look at it and they say you can succeed in the worship of these forms. You will not do well in the worship of these forms. There are complex reasons for that, karmic reasons, astrological reasons. Certain graha positions will not allow success in certain kinds of puja. So they are inimical. For instance, if you do puja of this is an extreme example, but I'm still saying, if you do puja of Sarveshwara, which is a very strange manticore form of Shiva, then you cannot enter into a Narasimha temple after that, because the two forms are a little antagonistic. So that is, like I said, it's an extreme example, it's an extreme form. You cannot, so even though I love Narasimha Swami, I cannot go into any Narasimha temples because I do an annual homam at a Sarveshwara temple. So there are some limitations because of that. So the Kuladevi can lead you to the thing. The Jyotish can give you some advice as to how you find your Kuladeva. or Kuladevi, but don't regard that as completely. It is much more important that an authentic guru confirms that yes, this is indeed your Ishta Deva, which was the case with me also. That because I was little torn between two forms, and he confirmed that no, this is it because you have the deep connection. And the third way, the third traditional method is to begin Ganpati sadhana. If you do proper Ganpati sadhana, then if he thinks that you now need an Ishta Deva, he will guide you to that Ishta Deva. You will be taken to the form that you require. Or it might be that you will discover that Ganpati himself is your Ishta Deva, which is a wonderful place to be in. So there is no problem there at all. The deeper question of is an Ishta Deva compulsory is very interesting, because tradition, from the spiritual tradition of Hinduism, it is not compulsory. In Bhakti Yoga, yes, it is compulsory. But in all other forms, it is not compulsory that to attain or to grow spiritually or to reach somewhere in Adhyatmic matters, you need an Ishta Devata. You can just grow in Dharma. You see, the best example that I can give is that there are many, many stories which say that both Bhima and Arjuna were great Shiva Bhaktas. Yeah, Bhima is regarded as being even greater Shiva Bhakta than Arjuna in the stories. But nowhere do we find any particular clues as to who was the Ishta Devata of Yudhishthira. And Yudhishthira is regarded as Dharma Raja. He is regarded as the exemplar for Dharma, which nobody can ever match. Yeah, he is regarded as the perfected human being. He is regarded as the human being who has overcome all his flaws. Remember, he is a human being. He is not an avatar. He is not Sri Rama or Sri Krishna. So it is unfair to compare him to Sri Rama or Sri Krishna. But as a human being, nobody can match Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira is the ethical hero of the Mahabharata. And there are no folk stories, nothing of the sort that indicate, there are no alternative versions, nothing that indicates that he had any particular Ishta, because he was committed to Dharma, he was committed to his daily puja, yagya, whatever, and he was committed to Dharma, let's put it that way. The service of Dharma was his most important. Now, it is not unknown that people have an Ishta Deva and they are adharmi. They are violently opposed to Dharma. Asuras, Rakshasas, those class of beings, and the human beings who are inspired by those class of beings. We know a lot of people who are personally devout, have great deal of love and for particular devta, whatever, and they will get the good phalam for that. And at the same time, they do terrible things against Hindu Dharma. We know that. It's a very common phenomenon. So just because you have an Ishta Devata, that does not automatically make you a good person, or that does not automatically make you a spiritual person. It helps massively, but there have been cases where having the Ishta did not do anything. So you will get the benefits for being connected to a Devata, and then if you have done wrong things, if you have done adharma, Prakriti will take care of that also. Prakriti wins in the end. You just need to understand that Prakriti will always win in the end. Karma will always win in the end. Yeah, and your Devata will not intervene if your karma is so dire, if your karma is so vile and so evil that you need to be set on the right path with some dire consequences. Your Devata will not intervene. Of course, these are all exaggerated. Nobody who asks a question like that takes a decision that I will do personal. But our political class is magnificent at having deep devotion and being utterly vile human beings. So the two are absolutely possible. The two contradictions are absolutely possible to simultaneously exist. I personally know so many who are completely corrupt as human beings, and I don't just mean with money, they just sada hua, rotten as human beings, but deep devotion to particular devta, past life good phalam, that is helping them. So just because you have connection to an Ishta Devta, don't give yourself airs that therefore I have become. Of course, like I said, it is always better if you can get a rishi or a devta to look at you, even the smallest kind of devta, the smallest kind of rishi, it is an immense boost. So do not be in any kind of gloom because you don't have an Ishta Devta. Pray to Ganpati, see what the astrological charts indicate and what kind of form, what kind of Devta would help you. And most people want to do all what I call enticing forms. They want to do very powerful ugra forms, they want to do very attractive forms, and maybe that's not what you need, or maybe that's not what is actually your true calling. You need to be careful about those kind of things. And then there is, of course, when the time comes, if you really require an Ishta Devta, he will find a way, or she will find a way to get hold of you. So I am sorry I don't know the name of the person who asked me this question, but thank you for asking the question. It's a very important question. And the last question he asked was, is worshipping Kuladevi as impactful as worshipping Durga, Shiva, Vishnu? See, this is a question about comparison, and there are so many karmic factors to it. What is your path? What has been your past life sadhana, upasana? How is it? What are called the great devas, like you say, Durga, Shiva, Vishnu? Yes, of course. But the great devas take more time to respond because they are great and you are nothing. Whereas if you are taking like a moderate level devta or a grama devta, they respond fast. Or there are certain other very powerful devtas who respond fast. So you have to, what for? What is your sadhana for? Is it for moksha? Is it for gaining, growing in your consciousness, growing in your material spiritual life to become a valued member of society? There are so many reasons why. So the form you choose will reveal what are your goals, what are your aims, those kind of things. So don't ask these comparative questions. Don't ask which is a better form, which is a worse form, because all are the it depends on what you're worshipping for. And also, there is an inevitability about a genuine relationship with an Ishta Devta. Once that form chooses you, once that Rupam chooses you, there is nothing you can do about it. So if it is not that case with you, then you're still searching. There is a certain let me put it this way. There is an old saying in spirituality that the divine does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called. So if the Ishta Devta decides it is your time, he decides this person is mine, then the great saint Manjunatha, he started off as a not exactly a Nastika, but an opponent of Shiva. He abused Shiva 1 crore times. And one day Shiva decided, I want this man. He has taken my name 1 crore times. I want him to be mine. And he was gone. And he became one of the greatest Shiva saints of all time. So, once the Devta decides this person belongs to me, all this will become futile. Yeah, this entire like for me, I am fond of saying that me and Nataraja, I am in a hostage situation. Even if I wish to, I can't go anywhere else. He's literally captured me. I am bound to him. So that kind of, when it happens, you will know. Do not have any doubts about that. When it happens, you will know. There will be no doubts, there will be no questions. So when you are asking these questions, it means you've still not had that genuine experience of the sparsha, the touch of a devta. So do not despair. Do not be downcast or despondent about this. The worship of the Kuladevi is very important. Please start up the japa, the worship. Please go and visit. That is even more important. Yeah, you need to do hazri, as they say. You need to go and show attendance. I am here. You are linked to my family, to my karma, to my thank you. I have come to show my gratitude. I am here. That you need to do. And if you start the japa, she is a Yogeshwari is a form of Durga, so there is absolutely no. Your other question is also answered. I hope this has been helpful, not just to the person who asked the question, but to all sincere sadhaka upasakas. Sarvam Shivam.